The film industry is dominated by males. This is something that has been prevalent throughout film's history, but hadn't been acknowledged until the last 30 years or so. This means that the people creating the majority of the characters we know and love are men. This is not a problem for most topics discussed in film, but it is a problem when it comes to how women are portrayed in film.
Is it so terrible to have those feelings about a boy?
No nice girl does.
This is how the concept of the male gaze was created. The male gaze is the act of depicting women in the world from a masculine heterosexual perspective that often portrays women as sexual objects for the pleasure of the male viewer. Men have been writing female characters like this for so long that it really raises the question, can men write honest, authentic female characters? And if they can't, then what does that mean for these male filmmakers that are now in an industry where female characters are becoming more prominent in mainstream films? In this essay, I'm going to discuss 2 examples of female characters that I find, and many others do, relatable and realistic. My first example is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is about a girl named Buffy Summers and her experience trying to juggle being a normal teenager and her duty to be the Vampire Slayer.
We haven't been properly introduced. I'm Buffy, and you're history.
This show follows Buffy and her 2 close friends, Willow and Xander, and Buffy's mentor, Giles, the librarian, as they fight crime and keep the supernatural at bay. Unlike most media from this time, and even the majority of the content we watch now, instead of having Xander, Buffy's male friend, fight off most of the monsters, it's all Buffy. Buffy's always the one who comes to the rescue. Buffy's the one who saves her friends in the heat of battle. Even Joss Whedon mentions the reason he created this show is because he wanted to flip the trope of the girl having to be saved on its head.
I saw so many horror movies where there was that blonde girl who would always get herself killed. I started feeling bad for her. I thought, it's time she had a chance to, take back the night. And so the idea of Buffy came from just the very simple thought of a beautiful blonde girl walks into an alley, a monster attacks her, and she's not only ready for him, she trounces him.
Okay, look, I really don't want to fight all 3 of you, unless I have to.
Although watching Buffy kick vampire ass is awesome, it isn't what makes her such a relatable character. It is because one minute she can be saving her friends from monsters, and the next she can talk about boys with Willow. Buffy can care about her appearance, but also be able to fight in the mud and get dirty. She can have a breakdown about the stress that life puts on her, like we all do, but then come back and face her fears head on and get through them. Buffy breaks through feminine stereotypes and becomes a round character, and that is why people can relate to her. Although Joss Whedon is a man, you can see through Buffy's character he's able to create an authentic female character that women can relate to. My next example is Gilmore Girls, a show made in the 90s by Amy Sherman Palladino. Gilmore Girls is about a single mom, Lorelai, and her daughter, Rory. It follows them through family drama and the fun and interesting aspects of daily life in a small town in Connecticut. Unlike Buffy, this show is highly criticized for being anti-feminist. Many scholars have claimed that because of Lorelai's selfishness and Rory's tendency to go a little boy crazy at times, their characters are not real representations of what strong, independent women are like. But I beg to differ. I think because of their flaws, they are more realistic. People are able to understand their struggles because they can see those struggles in their own life. When watching this show, I assumed that Palladino was striving to create relatable female characters. But after some research, I found that she was just writing about her own experience and happened to create 2 extremely honest and realistic women. Through this comparison, you can see that men can write female characters just as authentically as women, but does that mean they should? Although Buffy is an extremely realistic female character, was that Joss Whedon's intent? When you look at some of the scenes and the way that Buffy is presented at times in the series, you start to see an odd pattern. Buffy's extremely beautiful, and there are points where Whedon highlights her beauty in a way that raises the question, was Whedon trying to create a realistic female character, or was he trying to create a female character that is the ideal fantasy of his male audience? Buffy's character, although much more authentic than female characters in the past, was created for the same reason, for the male viewer. Whereas in Gilmore Girls, although all the women are extremely beautiful, the main audience is women, so there is never a point where Rory or Lorelai are presented as the ideal of what women should be. They are just shown as what women are. Even when you don't consider the writer's intent behind these characters, you can't ignore the fact that Whedon had to synthesize his female perspective from pre-existing tropes, where Palladino simply pulled from her own experience. So, should men take a back seat when it comes to creating female characters and let women take over? Or should we try and meet somewhere in the middle?
I hate the way you're always right. I hate it when you lie. I hate it when you make me laugh. Even worse when you make me cry. I hate it when you're not around and the fact that you didn't call. But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.